Welcome to the 5-Minute Bible Teaching from Back to the Bible. This is Pastor Nat. Today we are going to help you move closer to Jesus today than you were yesterday by talking about humility. How would you define humility? In today's world, we may not even know what humility is to even define it. Is humility thinking of yourself as a loser? I think there are a lot of people today who think that's the proper definition of humility, thinking of yourself as a loser. Is humility thinking less of yourself, or is it thinking of yourself less? Well, I think humility, rightly defined, is seeing yourself correctly. Nothing more and nothing less, but seeing you as God sees you. This is the opposite of what the world will tell you today. The world will tell you you just need to tap into your personal power, that if you want it, you just have to name it and claim it. You see, you just have to believe in yourself and to tell the rest of the world to take a leap. So who has it right? The world or God? Well, that's what we want to talk about today as we turn back to the book of Galatians in chapter 6. For if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let each one test his own work, and then his reason to boast will be in himself alone and not in his neighbor. For each will have to bear his own load. So what is the Apostle Paul saying here? Because it kind of sounds like both the world and God has it right. Well, humility is seeing ourselves rightly, but also if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Well, Paul here is saying that if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. This is the definition of humility, seeing yourself rightly, knowing that apart from the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus, we are nothing, spiritually dead. Thinking otherwise is like taking the credit for something that you had no part of. I mean, imagine walking into the house of your dreams, and as you walk around, I come up to you and I tell you all about the house. How long it took to build, how much money it took to build it, how I had designed the house, how I had earned the money for the house. But then you find out that I actually didn't even own the house. I didn't pay for the house, and I have no connection to the house. I had lied through my teeth. You would have realized that I fooled you, but I was also deceiving myself. That's what we do when we take credit for any part of salvation. That's what we do when we think that we can be good apart from God. That's what we do when we act holier than thou. Apart from God, we are desperately wicked according to the Bible. It is God who saves us and who transforms us. Because God transforms us, he restores our motives. You see, God calls us to examine ourselves to see if what we have done and what we are doing are for the right reasons. Are we doing what we're doing to honor God? Are we doing those things out of our love for God? Or are we doing them to impress someone else? If we're trying to raise our stock value with someone else, if we're trying to make people feel worse about themselves so we feel better, then we're not doing it for the right motives. Paul says you got to walk with God to make sure your motives are right. In other words, we will live well with right intentions. We will live in a way that honors God, and that is beneficial to the community around us. That's why Paul says we will bear our own load. In whatever ministry we have, we will do what God has asked us to do. In the everyday routine of life, we will do our part. We won't try to get out of doing the full load. We won't do it with wrong motives. No. We will do it in a way that is pleasing to God and beneficial to those around us. But it all begins by knowing who we are in Christ. Today, examine yourself. Ask yourself, am I living for God or just myself? Am I concerned about the people around me? Am I concerned about my own walk with God? Today, I challenge you. Remember, God saved you not because of what you could do, but rather because of who God is. God doesn't love you because of what you do, but rather who you are in Christ. If that's humility, I will take it all day long. The question is, will you?